Hi everyone, it's Grace Day. You've seen me before. Welcome back to First Year Friday. We're excited to have you. This week, we're going to be talking with the Judicial Council, who is going to do a mock hearing process, as well as walk you through some facts and figures, some common questions. If you have any questions about the community of respect, the Judicial Council process, or the policies and procedures that the Judicial Council works with, drop them in the chat. We'll have a Q&A at the end. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, this is Kate Lemon. She is one of the Chief Justices for our Judicial Council.
So. Hello, guys. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the context of the hearing and everything like that. So on November 5th, 2020, the Office of Student Conduct Resolution, also known as OSCR, received the following incident report from Residence Life. The incident report reads, on October 31st, 2019, at around 11:45 p.m. in Sherwood Hall, R.A. Velma Dinkley received a phone call from resident Freddie Jones. Resident Freddie Jones told R.A. Velma Dinkley that a student had just come by and knocked on her door with a loud greeting, "Trick or treat." Resident Freddie said that when he opened the door, a student with a Halloween pail was standing there with a Great Dane. Resident Freddie said that the student seemed visibly intoxicated, and that he told the student that he did not have any candy, and the student said, "Not even Scooby snacks for my dog?" To which Resident Freddie replied, "No." The student started to walk away with her dog, stumbling down the hall as she went. R.A. Velma Dinkley told Resident Freddie that he would check things out. R.A. Velma Dinkley went to the second floor where the student had been seen. R.A. Velma found the student and her dog outside of a room. The student was trying to put her key into the door, but she was continuously missing the keyhole. R.A. Velma immediately recognized and identified the student as Daphne Blake and her support dog, Scooby-Doo. R.A. Velma approached student Daphne and asked what she was doing. Student Daphne replied, "I was doing some trick-or-treating, but no one has any candy. That's so lame." R.A. Velma noticed that the student Daphne was slurring her words and that her breath smelled like alcohol. R.A. Velma asked student Daphne if she had been drinking, to which student Daphne replied, "Absolutely not. I have never had a sip in my life." R.A. Velma helped student Daphne into her room and told her to expect an email from the Office of Student Conduct Resolution. So once OSCR received the report and reviewed it, a charge letter was sent to Daphne Blake. Daphne Blake is being charged with 2A, alcohol misconduct, university property, possession and/or consumption of alcoholic beverages, including empty containers on Mercer University property or at university-sponsored events, and alcohol misconduct 2D, underage, possession and/or consumption of alcohol or alcohol paraphernalia by individuals under the age of 21. After Daphne Blake receives her charge letter, she sets up an informational meeting with an OSCR employee. In this meeting, she gets to review her case file, learn about her rights in the process, and receive more information about the overall conduct process. After this informational meeting, a hearing is scheduled for Daphne Blake, which will be taking place now. All right, so we're going to get started with the hearing. My name is Kate Lemon. I'm the Chief Justice of the Office of Student Conduct Resolution. It is October 9th, 2020. It is 10:10 a.m. Will the members of the hearing board please identify themselves?
Danielle Hawk, Student Justice.
Bless Jordan, Student Justice. Janai Baxter, Student Justice.
Rishi Patel, Student Justice. Will the responding party and their advisor, if present, please identify themselves?
Daphne Blake.
Ms. Blake, this proceeding is being taped. Are you prepared to go forward?
Yes.
Do you understand the charges as outlined in your charge letter?
Yes.
Were you informed of your right to attend an informational meeting and review the material in your file?
Yes.
Did you choose to attend the informational meeting to review the materials and ask questions prior to the hearing?
Yes.
Do you have any procedural questions before we begin?
No.
We are convened to consider case 123. This is a university hearing and not comparable to a criminal trial. The purpose of this hearing is to determine the facts of the case, determine responsibility, and to consider appropriate sanctions if necessary. You have been charged with violating regulations 2A, alcohol misconduct, and 2D, alcohol misconduct. You will be asked to respond responsible or not responsible to the charges. For the charge of 2A, alcohol misconduct, are you responsible or not responsible?
Not responsible.
Okay. And for the charge of alcohol misconduct 2D, are you responsible or not responsible?
Not responsible.
I will now read to you the honesty statement. The university expects that all information provided be true and correct. Be advised that if you provide false information, you will be in violation of the student code of conduct and subject to further disciplinary action. Do you agree to this honesty statement?
Yes.
Will the responding party please provide a narrative of the incident in question? So what happened on October 31st, 2019?
Well, it had been a very long week of classes, so I decided on Halloween night just to go, I guess, cheer up my fellow residents in Sherwood. So I went around trying to, knock on people's door, get them excited about Halloween or whatnot, because I had just had such a rough week and I wanted people to be excited about Halloween. So I went to people's doors, started knocking, asking for candy. No one really had any candy, which I thought was lame because it's Halloween and, we love to celebrate Halloween. And then after I realized that no one was going to really open the door for me, I went back to my room and then I went to sleep.
Okay. Does this conclude your narrative of the incident?
Yes.
Okay, we will now proceed with questions from the floor. Ms. Blake, how old are you?
I am 19.
And are you aware of Mercer's alcohol policy?
Not really.
Have you ever consumed alcohol?
Never.
So what were you doing before you started going around to these different rooms?
I remember being in my room. I think I had on a costume, but I'm not really sure. I think I left my room at about 10:30-ish. So
Do you remember talking to your RA at any point during the night?
not really.
Can you tell us why you had a bad week?
I just had test after test after test, more papers, another test, quiz, work, more work, more work. So yeah, I did a lot.
What do you usually do to de-stress?
Usually watch Netflix. I was getting excited because it's Halloween, so I was definitely getting excited for that.
So trick-or-treating is the only thing you did to de-stress that night?
Yes.
Did you hang out with any friends prior to going trick-or-treating or had anybody over?
Not really. I was just really me and my dog Scooby.
And so just to clarify, you don't remember the RA interacting with you or approaching you?
Not really.
How did you feel when you woke up the next morning?
I had a headache, but I didn't really know what from exactly, but I remember having a headache.
So the incident report, the RA says that you seemed intoxicated. Do you know why the RA might have written that down?
I honestly don't know. I mean, no one was feeling groovy that night, so I honestly don't know. I was just knocking, being my happy, kind of joyful self, kind of getting through the rough week I had, so honestly don't know why she wrote that.
Does the board have any more questions?
How do you feel about drinking on campus?
I think it's bad. Shouldn't happen.
Any more questions? Okay, we will now proceed with calling witnesses. The university will represent any witnesses first. We do have a university witness. We have the RA with us. Will the witness please state your name for the record?
Valma Dinkley.
I will now read to you the appropriate honesty statement, which will be applicable for any and all testimony provided throughout the hearing. The university expects that all information provided be true and correct. Be advised that if you provide false information, you will be in violation of the Student Code of Conduct and subject to further judicial action. Do you agree with this honesty statement?
I do.
Okay. Witness, please provide a narrative of the incident in question. So what happened on October 31st, 2019?
So it was around midnight on Halloween, and one of my residents, Freddie Jones, called and said that there was a student and her dog going around trick-or-treating, and they seemed drunk. And so I was just like, okay, well, I'll go check it out. And so I went to second floor where Freddie Jones lived, and that's when I saw the student and her dog trying to get into her room, but she kept missing the keyhole. And when I went closer, I identified the student as Daphne Blake and her dog Scooby. I talked to her and asked her what she was doing, and she told me she was trick-or-treating, and she was slurring her words a bit, and I could smell alcohol on her breath, so I figured that she was drinking, and I asked her if she had been. She told me she wasn't, but at that point she also seemed very intoxicated, and so I helped her into her room and everything, and I told her that Judicial would be getting back to her about what happened.
Does this conclude your narrative of the incident?
Yes, it does.
Okay, the board will follow up with questions. The responding party may ask questions once the board concludes.
How was Daphne's behavior when she saw you?
She was very friendly, but I don't think she really identified who I was. I think she was just talking to me, not realizing that I was the RA.
So you talked about kind of that she seemed drunk and she was slurring her words, and she, can you elaborate more on that, like more about like her behavior?
She was acting a little odd compared to her usual behavior. And whenever I was talking to her and she was responding to my questions, her words were slurring together. I could smell alcohol on her breath. And she wasn't standing, I guess, exactly straight. She was kind of wavering. And then she was trying to open her door and kept missing the keyhole, which was slightly concerning.
Have you ever seen the resident exhibit behavior like this before?
No, I haven't. This was the first time.
Did you have any interaction with the student after the incident had occurred?
No, I did not.
Any more questions? Any questions? No? Okay. Does the responding party have any questions for the witness?
I do.
Okay.
So when you entered my room, did you see any alcohol?
No.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all? Okay. This concludes the university witnesses at this time. Would the responding party like to call any relevant witnesses at this time?
No.
Does the responding party have any additional information that has not been brought out thus far?
No.
Okay. The hearing officer or board may ask additional questions if needed at this time before proceeding. Do we have any more questions? Okay, will the responding party please provide a closing statement, which is optional?
No.
This hearing is now closed. However, the university reserves the right to reopen this proceeding if additional information is needed in order to make a decision. Please remember to avoid all contact with any witness until the case is resolved, except in the normal course of your interaction with any staff or student in the performance of their duties. Okay, this case is closed, so you can go ahead and go. And now the board, since the hearing is over, now the board will deliberate about the charges, about responsibility, and potential sanctions if necessary. Okay, so what do you guys think about responsibility for these charges?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have enough information to.
Well, we have the incident report that states that the RA said that she was drunk, and then she obviously was consistent with her incident report, which gives her credibility. And the incident report was not consistent with what the student had said. And the student also did not recall a lot of information about what happened that night. And she said she woke up with a headache the next morning, which kind of indicates that she might have had a hangover.
But
And that,
Valerie also didn't see any alcohol. Granted, the student could hit it, but
No.
that's also.
yeah, the student could have hit it,
Yeah.
or could have, lied, and she might have been somewhere else, like at a party beforehand. Because I mean, it's October 31st.
That's true.
There might have been parties happening. So she said that the RA said that she seemed drunk, that she was slurring words, that she smelled like alcohol, had to physically help her into her room, was not standing straight. So it sounds like it's more likely than not that she was consuming alcohol, and that she probably either didn't remember it or didn't want to admit it to us that she was. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah,
You
I
agree?
agree with that.
Okay. So she'll be responsible for alcohol 2A and for 2D alcohol misconduct because she is 19, she's underage. Also, she wasn't aware of Mercy's alcohol policy as the dry campus. Okay, now that we've determined responsibility, we're going to talk about some possible sanctions for the student. What do you guys think?
Well, the student said she was very stressed because she had a long week.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they should do something regarding self-care and help to handle that.
Yeah, like do like a well-being plan and like better ways to cope with stress.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Yeah, probably reflect on the incident too.
Mhm.
It sounded like she was like to not remember, like interacting with the RA even.
Right.
Seems kind of concerning, and seems like she doesn't know quite how to like drink responsibly, even though you're not supposed to drink at all on campus. But she might have put her health and safety at danger.
Mhm.
So maybe some sort of like alcohol 101 or doing some sort of like research about the effects of alcohol,
Right.
something like that. What do you guys think?
I think that's good, and we can like also incorporate versus policies into.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. She can talk about the policy as well. That'd be good. Do you guys have anything else?
No, I think that's
You think
good.
that's good? Yeah, I think that is good and will benefit the student. Okay, so now we're done with sanctioning. So what would happen after that is that Daphne Blake will then receive her decision letter, which outlines responsibility and the sanctions that she received that we all came up with. You guys are good to go. That's it.
Yeah.
A little bit about our office, what we do, and a little bit about the common violations that we see, and also how you can avoid coming to our office, because we know that's all what you want to know. Okay, so the Office of Student Conduct Resolution, our mission is to serve the Mercer community by enforcing and educating students on the university's conduct policy, while promoting social responsibility and healthy behaviors. Overall, we aim to educate and transform students who come through our process.
Yeah, and Oscar ensures that the community of respect at Mercer University is upheld. This community of respect and its standards of conduct are based on respect for academic integrity, respect for other persons, respect for university community, and respect for community authority. Oscar works alongside the Honor Council to maintain this community of respect.
So now we're going to get into some of the violations, the most common that we see. So one of the most common violations of the student code of conduct that our office sees is alcohol misconduct. Like as you can see, we just had a hearing about it. So Mercer University is a dry campus, which means that alcohol or alcohol paraphernalia are not allowed on campus.
Yeah, and another one of our most common violations that our office sees is failure to report. If you are present when a violation is occurring but do not report the violation, you can be charged with failure to report. And this is a much lesser charge than, say, the alcohol misconduct charges. And even if you're not present during the incident, but you're still aware that a violation is occurring, you can still be charged.
Another common violation is drug misconduct. Mercer has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to drugs on campus. You will most likely be suspended or expelled if you are found responsible for selling, manufacturing, or distributing drugs.
And finally, the most common violation that we see, especially this year, is the violation of published university regulations in regards to Mercer's COVID-19 mask policy. Please refer to Mercer's website for a full description of the university's face covering policy, and please wear your mask.
Lastly, Cameron and I have some tips on how to avoid our office and the conduct process overall.
All right, so the first tip we have is to review the Student Code of Conduct. This document outlines your rights, hearing procedures, policies, and potential sanctions. Being aware of the policies at Mercer can help you tremendously in avoidance of violations. The Student Code of Conduct can be found on our website at conduct.mercer.edu.
The second tip we have for you is to be aware and smart about the situations you put yourself in. Before entering a situation, think about how the situation and its potential consequences could lead you to come into our office. If the situation is unsafe or not smart, don't let yourself enter into it.
All right, and our final tip we have is reporting violations to us. The best way to report violations is through our website, conduct.mercer.edu. And to do that, click on resources, then you should see the reporting misconduct, and then there's a link that you should follow. You can also contact our office via email or phone. Our email is studentconduct@mercer.edu, and our phone number is 478-301-2623.
Now that we've gone through the entire hearing process, talked about common violations, and given you all tips about how to avoid our office, do you have any questions for us?
Okay, our first question is reporting anonymous?
So currently reporting is not anonymous, but at no point would your name be revealed to anyone other than Oscar employees. So the charged student would not know who you are. Your name would be redacted from any documentation.
Second, what is the most common violation for alcohol? Like, what's the most common sanction for first-time alcohol offense?
So a lot of times for our first-time alcohol offenses, we usually have a fine that's involved. And this is just to keep students accountable and kind of, make sure that you understand that this is it's a serious charge and we don't want you obviously drinking again. But also we try to come up with educational sanctions. As you can see, we talked about this student, Daphne Blake, who was talked about how she was stressed. And so we try to really tailor educational sanctions to the students. So she talked about being stressed. So we were thinking, she probably used alcohol as a way to deal with stress. So we should probably give her some sort of sanction about coping with stress and de-stressing in healthy ways other than alcohol.
And then also with that, when we see alcohol cases, it's usually because of that. Like you've had a stressful week, so you're finding new ways to cope, basically.
Perfect. Okay. What would you say is the most, how many witnesses are you allowed to bring on your behalf as the charged student?
So as a charged student, you're allowed to bring relevant witnesses. So you can't just bring in a bunch of people who don't have anything relevant to say about the case and the incident. We do take, a witness could submit character testimony and stuff like that, talking about your character. hypothetically, you could call multiple witnesses, but we want to make sure that those witnesses are relevant. And if one witness would say what another witness would say, we don't necessarily need both of them, if that makes sense. But obviously, we want to give you the opportunity to call witnesses on your behalf. And we do give you that right during your informational meeting, which happens before the hearing.
Also, witnesses can't be other charged students in the case.
Is there an appeal process?
Yes, there is an appeal process. It's actually written in our long script here, but I didn't go through it just to save you guys a little bit of hearing my voice. But we do have an appeals process. What happens is once you receive your decision letter, you have 3 days to appeal. And grounds for appealing and everything like that, that's outlined in our student code of conduct. And when you file an appeal, you can go on our website, and it's the outcome appeal submission form. It's on our website under the resources tab, and that's how you fill out an appeal. But you are allowed to appeal your decision.
Okay. Are these hearings run by senior level students or by like staff and administration?
So we have 3 different types of hearing boards. This one that you saw for this is a student hearing. And so either I or Cameron, who's the Associate Chief Justice, would lead that. So I am a senior, usually it's upper level classmen. So I'm a senior, Cameron's a junior. And we also have administrative hearings, which is just your one-on-one with a faculty member or staff member. And then we have university hearings, and those are led by a faculty or staff member, and it also has another faculty or staff member and a student justice as well. So it's a mixed kind of board.
Okay. What would determine what kind of hearing you would get?
Yeah. Okay, so
It's like we don't want to get too much into the weeds here.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I think student hearings, we see most of the alcohol cases.
Okay.
So that's really one big determinant. Another one is the amount of people involved. So usually reserved university hearings, they start at 3 and they can go to whenever. Usually, so if they involve a bunch of different people, we try and like get them in and hope they don't have class and all that and whatnot. So we try and schedule those towards the end of the week. If it's just one person, we really could just have a hearing on Wednesdays at 10:15 or another hearing, administrative hearing Fridays at 10 as well.
Yeah, so it does depend on how many people are involved. It also depends sometimes on the circumstances. So if we have a student sometimes that's having, maybe it's noted that they're having kind of like a mental health crisis and stuff like that. And we really feel like we need to have a more informal conversation with the student than this formal process. And that's what an administrative hearing does. And so usually we'll assign that to them. And then also university hearings, we usually keep those for our larger cases and everything like that, but also our more severe charges. So things like physical assault, endangerment, things like that are very severe that we need kind of a mixed board, mixed opinions. We need a lot of time to fully flesh out the details.
Okay. Cool. Oh, this is a good one. It gets specific, but if you could talk generally about it as well. So if you are also drinking, but report the incident if someone's life is at stake, is the charge lessened through the Good Samaritan clause? And then can you just kind of give some more clarification on the Good Samaritan clause?
So you brought up a good point. Basically what the students talk about is the amnesty clause that we have. So basically, if you report a student and you were also like involved with drinking or whatnot, you will get a lesser charge. And so what was the rest of it?
So like, is the charge lessened? Is
Yes.
is there a way that you can get away with no charge?
I don't think you would get no charge because at the end of the day, we're an educational office. So we want to educate, like, you basically what you did is right, but like still you need to learn from not doing, like basically following the rules.
Yeah, not putting yourself in that situation in the first place. Yeah, your charge would be lessened, and you would also face not as severe sanctions probably. But we still want you to learn and grow from the process, and we're very grateful that you reported the student and everything like that so that we could take care of them. But we also need to, as I said before, address the situation that put you in that in the first place.
Okay. Does the amnesty clause apply to make and bid police?
That's a good question. We're not really, we're kind of just the university. So we don't work on behalf of like the Macon police or anything like that. So if you were out in Macon and you called the Macon police, they're not going to take that same amnesty policy as we would. Yeah.
So it's important to note, everyone, that you've got the make and bid police and the Mercer policies. They're two separate systems, and sometimes you may get a sanction from conduct, but you'll also might have legal charges that you will have to deal with, and that is not Mercer's fault. That is not Mercer.
Also on that point, we do in the student code of conduct have a saying, I guess, saying if you are found doing something outside of Mercer's campus, you can still be charged with something on campus. So like if you're downtown and you're found doing something and like someone finds out about it, that could still come back to our office. But it wouldn't be a legal work or making bid charge. It would just be an in-house Mercer education.
Yeah, like if you call the police, obviously they're gonna handle it, and like we might handle it on our end too, but they're not gonna obviously apply the amnesty policy like we would.
It looks like we have enough time for one last question. So let's end on a positive note. So how does one get involved with Oscars?
I'm so glad you asked that question. We love having our student justices. That's like the #1 way to get involved is to become a student justice. And so usually we start advertising for bringing in student justices and interviewing for that process in the springtime. So keep an eye out on Bear Blurbs, keep an eye out on the posters and flyers on campus. We'll be advertising to come and apply. Basically the whole process is you'll fill out an application, you'll come in and interview with us, and if we think that you are a good fit for our office and that you'd be a good student justice, then we'll bring you aboard and we'll do training and you'll be able to sit on these boards and be involved in the conduct process.
Also, we welcome all majors. You don't have to be just related to like law, code, policy, criminal justice. Like we want very different student justice opinions, and that helps also with the sanctions and just getting a bunch of different viewpoints that could help better educate the student if they ever have to come through our process.
We love having a diverse board, and that's what we try to make up our board of so that we can have a representative panel and we can give people different perspectives, obviously. Also, just a little note, we only have one male student justice currently. So if you're a male and you're very interested in being student justice, I would encourage you even more to apply because we need to have men on our board. It helps us be representative. So yeah.
Also, we only have one sophomore, so freshmen. So if you want to apply, please be on the lookout for that Bear Blurbs or flyers that Kate described starting next semester.
Can students who have gone through the conduct process apply to be student justices?
They can. So on the application process, you will have to note that you did go through a process, and you have to probably explain a little bit about going through that process. But if you're in good standing with us, if you completed your sanctions and things like that, we're going to take that into consideration. And we also think it's, sometimes it's beneficial to have gone through a process. And I think it's, a great, I don't know what you call it. It's a great turning point where you have been through the process and then you would kind of feel equipped to deliver the process, if that makes sense. But yes, you can still apply.
Cool. All right, everyone. Well, if you have any other questions, oh, hi, what's up? It's me. If you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email, day_gc@mercer.edu. We will get this edited and popped up on YouTube, and your faculty members can send it out to you all sometime, probably early next week. But thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. Bye.